We were so blessed to accept an offer from a good friend of ours, Mack Caswell, to come help work with us on Be Still. We spent the time he was with us finishing out the outer subwalls. He was a true missionary in every sense, sleeping on the floors, working 14-hour days, and pressing on when the going was tough. Here they are attaching the outer subwall panels, and they began by making a template out of paper and marking it to fit the multiple shapes and radiuses and curved walls. Had a brief outing with Mack to Charlestown Landing while Henry had a Zoom board meeting. He was able to step aboard Adventure, Charleston's only 17th century replica sailing trading vessel, which only accelerated his desire to help complete Be Still. Once the paper templates were finished, they would go down to the shop and lay the paper template on a full sheet of plywood and mark it and cut it exactly to the same curvatures and angles of the boat. Then they would take the board up to the boat and begin the fitting process, which required some additional markings and sanding for a fine finish.
Yeah, there you go.
So what you doing, Henry?
We're trying to fit flooring. All right.
Looks good. You guys are master craftsmen.
Yeah, by the time we get a good job here. Mack, if it looked any better, nobody would believe we did it. Yeah, I know.
As they began working under the forward V-berth, it became particularly challenging working around the framework and the bow thruster.
Alright, let's go down here, the next one down. Got you high here, you level there, even there.
Now it's time for the four-step process: drilling through the wood and steel ribs, countersinking for the flathead screw, tapping for the quarter 28 threads, and finally screwing in the 3/16 stainless steel sheet metal screws. In the process, an old tool burned up and died.
So, this is starting to look like a boat in here. What have you all been up to?
They tell me we're trying to build a boat.
So, what do you think, Mac?
I think y'all doing a great job.
What about you? You're helping a
I'm
lot.
trying to learn what y'all doing.
I don't know what we'd do without you.
It's a safe answer.
Yeah, it's the middle of the house.
It is always motivating to be nearing the last few sections of a particular portion of the hull, as it is true in the forward section.
Putting in, Henry, what is that?
Well, this was the first kind of mini step to get up around this. This is the drive shaft for the steering. And it's a little strange angle here with a lot of cuts. We'll see if it's anywhere close. It's the first time around. We didn't make a pattern. It may or may not work.
Now we move to the aft section of the boat, where there's a lot of work to be done, starting with the steps and leading back to the aft berths. And in this case, we spent a couple of hours designing and mocking up the floor plan using 1/2-inch styrofoam board and a glue gun. From here, we started closing in the final aftmost portion of the vessel. The problem was there were no ribs or steel infrastructure to attach the plywood to. So we spent some hours removing foam, cutting, and mounting white oak strips to the hull. You may have noticed that we wrote some scripture on the foam walls, which will permanently be there under the subwalls.
I tell you what, it goes awful. You got room here. I get my hand on it. Now you might want to shake a little right there, and that gets you up more with it. I mean, right here you got way plenty. I mean,
Thursday afternoon, we could not resist accepting an offer to go out on a friend's 37-foot trawler, which was the highlight of Mack's experience with us in Charleston. He captained the boat for several miles from Charleston Bay under the icon of Charleston, the Ravenel Bridge.
Now you got a green buoy coming up here. You want to stay to the right of it.
Man, you're doing great, Matt.
yeah, I got a whole ocean to do it in.
Going downstairs.
You told me of lots of things swimming out from here to shore. But
I can tell you how not to steer a boat.
Oh, yeah.
You got this.
I'm out with this crowd. It's taking a little while, honey. But I just wish you was here.
They ended the week unwittingly, saving the hardest to last. The area behind the aft berth on the transom, again, had no supportive structure to apply the plywood and required more white oak backing. Well, that was no problem. They got that done, but in addition to this, the extreme curvature of the transom, which required tremendous strength and several tries and kind of unsuccessful tries to bend that half-inch plywood to fit. Finally, with great determination, they were able to successfully close in that area.
What'd you guys do this week?
Let's start in the front.
Okay. You're gonna save the best to last, huh?
Huh? Yeah. All right. We argued. We fussed.
Yeah.
We struggled.
Yes.
We got tired of each other.
Yes.
Yes. But we endured.
Yeah.
And now we're blood brothers. We're blood brothers.
That's awesome. So
Anyway.
what'd you guys do?
We started off here on the front of the boat. We put up all of these lower panels all the way back, all the way under here, on both sides. All these panels from about here forward on both sides. We also did above the berth, the V berth, on both sides, and that took us about 3 days. And then we come in the back of the boat.
I'm gonna get it run off.
It's a mess right now, but we built this step, and it was challenging, and we had to figure out how we're going. And then we mocked up the rest of the steps here. So we got it all figured out. We've taken it down now. You can't see it, but we're having a step here, and then a second step here, and then we got it all mocked up. We did it in styrofoam and then took it down. That took about a half a day to mock that up. It was very challenging coming around this this gear, and this is the steering system. And then we did everything that you see in the back of the boat. There was nothing, no woodwork here. From here back, there was nothing. So you see we closed all of that in, and it challenged us pretty good.
Yeah, that long break.
It took about all the strength the two of us had to put the bow in the board in the back. This may not look it, but the back of the boat bows, and to get that bow in there, and to get the wood in was super challenging. It was
That
As
was,
a matter of
hardest,
fact,
that was the hardest one we had to do.
I told the last board that we did here was absolutely the hardest of anything we've done on the boat. Not hands down since the beginning.
So, how'd you get it in? How'd you work as a team? What'd you do?
We worked until we got it done.
We
Good.
laid on our backs here. We took our shoes off, and with all of our might, we put pressure on the wall like this to try to get the bow in, you know. And both of us were doing that, and one of us screwing. And anyway, we have about 100, not 100, but we got about 10 screws in there, 15 that aren't hitting anything. And ultimately, and the problem is, I talk a lot. The problem is, there was nothing here to go to except the steel hull. So we had to take white oak and find a way to mount it inside of there, and we did, and that took us several hours today, getting the backing for that. And then we ultimately cut the piece, which was easy, and then getting it in and getting it screwed into the white oak that we have behind it was super challenging. But it's done, Mack.
We got it.
We got it. Woo!
That's great. You guys make a great team. You're going to have to come back, Mac.
We ain't finished it.
No, we're not finished yet.
Mack wants to come back when he wears the captain's cap and takes the wheel.
Aha!
He promised he'll do that for me.
Yeah, since I wore that hat when we were boating yesterday, I got a new idea about my life. Ideas don't make it. But those boys, those really nice guys we met.
Yes, they were.
They had fun with them just like we joking here.
Yeah.
And you got to take Virginia across that bridge.
Oh, you like that?
Yeah.
That sounds like a plan.
Yeah,
Thank you, Mac. That's awesome.
Oh, we had fun.
Thank you so much.
Mack was not only a tremendous helper and always there whenever Henry needed anything, he also taught us so much about how to put your all into the work. We were blown away by his work ethic, his tenacity to stick to something difficult, and by his relentless drive to produce more today than yesterday. He told Henry several times that he needed to get in gear as he would hate to have to fire him since he was the boss. When you work for God, your goals should never be too small. This reminds us of the words of King Solomon in Proverbs 14:23. In all labor there is profit, but the talk of the lips leads to poverty.